Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. Our guest today is Howard Brown. Buckle up for some inspiration. Welcome to the show, Howard.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's start with you, who you are today, and what got you to where you are today, because you've got a pretty long journey that you share openly with people that is inspirational, and it's full of twists and turns and successes and challenges. And so I'm kind of putting you on the spot here a little bit to summarize it and condense it down. But I want our listeners to really get a sense of who is Howard, what's he been through, and what is he out there? What is this sort of mission that you're on right now?
Well, thank you for that. I will give you sort of the highlight reel, and then you can decide where we want to dig and how far we go into other things. So I'm Howard Brown, and I always start and say that I am first and foremost a son, a twin brother. That's important later. A husband and a dad and a friend and a confidant. And that at the end of the day is the most important things that you can do in life. I've had a crazy life. The roller coaster has gone very high and the roller coaster has gone very low. So not only in my business career have I reached some very, very big heights as a Silicon Valley technology entrepreneur, being able to take company from inception to idea to out to go to market to monetization to the public markets and an IPO and acquisitions. I failed as well and had raised money for companies that actually didn't make it. That's the spectrum and the risk reward of being an entrepreneur of all shapes and sizes. But boy, have I learned along the way. The most important part of the story is that I've actually done a ton of community service. I think that actually that well rounds us and makes us whole. And boy, does it keep life interesting. And we can dig into some of the things that I'm into as well. But what you're seeing, if you're watching on video, is behind me, I actually over my shoulder here, I have a copy of my book, Shining Brightly. Well, I am also a two-time stage 4 cancer patient, survivor, and advocate, 30 years apart. Unfortunately, as a young man, just being promoted to a very large computer company in Dayton, Ohio, I noticed a little pink spot on my cheekbone. Long story short, that turned into stage 4 T-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1989. And unfortunately, it took a long time to get diagnosed. I moved back home with mom and dad in the Boston suburbs, and I started to do treatment at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, not knowing if I was going to live or die. I was a deer in the headlights. This is 1989. Computer use was really just getting adopted. There was no internet. There were no cell phones. My dad got a book on cancer from the library. And quite frankly, being very young, I didn't have a clue because I didn't know anybody. Old people died of cancer. And when I went to the cancer hospital, I went and actually sat in the pediatrics ward called the Jimmy Fund, because where did I fit? I wasn't old, but I also wasn't, 5 years old as well. So it was a lot of negative news on that until they typed my twin sister, and she was a 1 in 25,000 chance. I hit the lotto of being a bone marrow transplant exact match. And rolling the clock forward, I had that bone marrow transplant on May 24th of 1990, and they waited for that bone marrow, the spongy little purple fluid, to see if it would actually kill me right away, kill me over time, or work and become my immune system. And so for those watching on your YouTube channel, you're going to see this little bag of life right here. This is my bone marrow bag. I took it and I have it and I keep it with me. And that saved my life. My immune system started to grow, and my sister's immune system became my immune system. And I got to a second chance where many, many people in the stage 4 cancer world, the cancer burden is too great and God calls them to heaven. I got a second chance. And I went out to California to rebuild my life and to build up my mental toughness, my physical toughness, my physical well-being as far as getting my career back on track, getting back involved in relationship, and also finding my happy place back on the basketball court, which was really part of my healing process. So I found that as well. And things are going great. Karma was coming back the other way. I was getting stronger. And I started to do community service in the Jewish community, and I met my wife, Lisa. So how's that, right? I get rewarded for that, and it was absolutely incredible. And I became a big brother mentor to a young man named Ian, who was 10. I'm still a big brother mentor. He's 41 and has a child and married. You don't ever lose that. So he's family. And so good things started to happen. I'll take a break there because it's a mouthful right there. And that miracle number one, my twin sister, CJ Brown Gengras, saved my life through a bone marrow transplant. And I was stopped in my tracks emotionally, physically, financially. I was put on disability, and I had to get back up again. And that takes discipline. It takes intentionality. It takes physical and faith in myself, but also the ability to get help from others.
Do you see in retrospect how your own evolution through that process helped you as a business owner, helped you as a man, was part of the catalyst for giving back that you later felt so compelled to do?
So I was changed, but not in this enormous 180 that you would think. I already was a fairly charitable person, a good guy, fun guy to be with, work hard, play hard guy. So I had that already there. I think that what the lesson that I actually learned was that I didn't have to actually do it all. That fighting cancer was a team sport. Life is a team sport. Running a business is a team sport. And you have to be able to work in that circle that without hierarchy. I know that there's bosses and managers and all that, but you have to actually trust the people that they're going to do their job, and that you're going to try to be all on the same page, and be able to understand what the objectives are and what the goal of the day, the month, the year is. So I think I worked more intentionally, more disciplined, and tried not to become a workaholic. But I failed. I failed miserably. I fell back into it because once you get into it, bad habits are hard to break. But I was having great success. I was selling network products, and I was bringing in the big bucks again. And but then I mixed in the service to the community. I was doing fundraising, and we were doing clothing drives and food drives, and it was a big brother mentor that we spending time on. So I basically added that into the mix, and that added such cool interest and cool fun things, but it added a balance because I wasn't working at that time. And so I think that's the lesson that I learned. And it was amazing. And I still look in the mirror every single day because most people look in the mirror and they don't exactly like what they see. Well, I look in the mirror every day and I say, you are blessed, you should be grateful, and you are lucky. Go make something happen today. And I do. I actually do. Every time after I finish shaving every day, I look in the mirror and say that. So everyone should look in the mirror. And if you don't look like what you see, this is where you come in, Alicia. We help them change.
Exactly.
You help them make the change. And is it a small pivot? Is it a large U-turn? Is it a couple steps back? This is what we have to figure out.
It's powerful. Everything you shared is powerful. For those listening who have fear, I mentioned this to you before we started the recording, that it's interesting. It's come up a couple of times in conversation in sessions that I've had with clients. There is this fear that people have about cancer because it, in many people's mind, is just this thing that's going to jump out and get you. And everybody has their associations with it based on what they've heard and they've seen. And sort of societal conditioning, family conditioning. For those listening who are afraid, what would you say?
Well, this is right up my alley, because this is what I do when I coach and consult with people. So the first thing is, I have a cure for cancer right now. I have a cure for cancer, and I'm going to share it with you. Don't get it, right? So how do you not get it? All right, you get screened. Okay, over COVID, people did not go to the doctor. They did not go to the dentist. Women did not go and get their mammography. Men did not go get their prostate checked. Both people did not go get their colonoscopies. Now the age is 45 unless you have family history or symptoms. Okay, and symptoms can be tricky. Go get your cardio checked. Go to the dentist. Okay, go really act out self-care. That's the first thing. Go do self-care. Then live a healthy lifestyle, right? Okay, get enough exercise. Hydrate. Get enough sleep. Sleeping is healing. If you do those things, you might not get cancer. And I scream on the rooftops to go get screened, because I really don't want you to come and have to deal with the stuff I did, which is chemotherapy, surgeries, radiation, side effects, the anxiety of being told that you actually have a cancer diagnosis. So first things first, you can avoid all that. And that takes the first fear away, is that I am fine tuning. I went in for my oil change, and I am checking my body out on all cylinders so that I can run at an optimal level. That's the first thing. Now, if you happen to get bad news, then that's a different strategy. And that strategy is, first, it's time to be selfish in your time of need. And what does that mean? You have to learn to accept help. We have a lot of independent people out there. Okay. The number one thing coming out of COVID is loneliness. So we all think that we got to do it ourselves. All right. You have to be able to accept help. Okay. I ran back home to mom and dad. They were my caregiving team. Okay. Not living in a digital age. And when we get to the second part of this, of cancer 2, colon cancer, I rallied the troops, and I allowed people to do good deeds. Okay. And the blessing of actually helping me and my family. So those are the first things that you have to do. Now, you have to go get smart about your disease. You have to learn about it, because you need to be collaborative with your care team. Okay. In the old days, the doctor told you what to do and you did it. That's not how it works today. All right. Cancer is very complex. They can only tell you what they learn on a scan, a blood test, or some other type of test. Okay. You have to tell them how you feel. Okay. How you're reacting. Side effects, and then they actually, the doctors are mostly in a reactionary business, but you need to be part of your care team and be part of the solution. Now, is every day going to be a good day? Probably not, but those days you can crawl up in a ball, and that's okay. But the days that you actually feel decent, go take a walk, go find the happy place, go do something that actually can take your mind off it. Go to a movie. I could care less. Go learn how to cook. Do yoga. There's something you can do that can get you away from thinking about this. And the other thing is go get help. There are so many advocacy and resources out there for you, including mentors. Okay. I mentor right now about 5 cancer patients in active treatment. I'm 5 steps ahead of them. I call myself a cancer whisperer, but I had people 5 steps ahead of me that were pulling me along. I've already walked the path. Okay. I am no evidence of disease, coming up on 4 years in September. That's the goal. That's where you got to get to. You got to get to that spot. So go talk to someone that's a little bit ahead of you and allow yourself to be mentored, and they'll show you the way. And that's the best 2-minute spiel I can give you on that, is get screened. Okay. And be selfish. Those are the two lessons learned from that.
When you were talking about all of those recommendations, I noticed a parallel between other areas of life where people are challenged. It's not just a cancer thing. This is what is your challenge? What are you bumping up against? And the formula is very similar, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Self-care, being proactive, taking care of yourself. When you experience the, I just got knocked down, be selfish enough, have enough self-love, self-honor, self-respect to take care of yourself, to take care of your needs. And being mentored, being guided, being helped up by other people who can hold that space for you, that can help lift you up to that next higher level. So for our entrepreneurs who are listening, whether they have their fears or insecurities around cancer or some other disease, or maybe their challenge is in their business, or it's in their marriage, or it's with their weight or whatever. Mm-hmm. It really is sort of that same formula, isn't it?
Alicia, you said it so eloquently. Absolutely. It is. And again, not you're not reinventing the wheel. I mean, this is it. Listen, I'm very blessed to have my parents as my caregiver in Cancer 1 and Cancer 2. It was my wife. Caregivers, there's 3.5 million unpaid caregivers out there that are taking care of people, including elderly parents. And they basically give up their whole lives to do that. And my wife was raising our daughter, Emily. I was helping as much as I could. But my focus was to just live and extend my life. And I knew if you Dr. Google stage 4 cancer, those numbers are absolutely unbelievable. First of all, they're not accurate. And second of all, only God above knows when your number's up. But it's a journey, it's a battle. And I wake up now every single day, as I told you, feeling very blessed, lucky, and grateful.
Let's talk about your book.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that.
So give us the highlight reel for the book.
All righty. How cool is it that you get to walk back your entire life? So I'm in the middle of treatment, and my publisher and friend David Crum takes me out for a bagel and coffee and says, "Do you want to leave a legacy book?" And I'm like, "Hell no, that's daunting to me. I'm not going to leave a book." He goes, "Talk to Lisa and Emily, see if you want to do it." They laughed at me because they know I'm not a great writer. I called David back and I said, "If you'll allow me to basically do this over Zoom and interview the most influential, important people in my life, I'll write a book with you." I think there was dead silence on the phone for at least 30 seconds. He was like, "We've never done that. I'll call you back." Well, he called me back. He said, "We're going to have to be very disciplined. Every Wednesday for a couple hours, we have to get a schedule. We're going to invite people on." Well, it's going to take a year. Well, it took 3. But on September 27th, and for those looking at video, I'm holding a copy of my hard copy, and Shining Brightly is out there. And Shining Brightly is not a cancer book. There are cancer chapters, okay? It is a life guide to how to live a resilient life with hope and goodness. And that the light that we all have within each other and the light that you receive from others. I talked about being selfish and people helping me in my time of need. That was light, because darkness is depressing. Darkness is where malaise can build. Darkness where addiction can build, or self-hurt. There's lots of stuff about that, written about that. And I'm not a psychologist or a psychoanalyst or a psychotherapist, but light is what's really important. So I start with my family my great-grandmother, Bubby Bertha Budish, coming from Lithuania. And that chapter is what lesson she taught me and my sister at 5 years old. She said, live a life of kindness, okay? And that word is called chesed in Hebrew. The second is to give tzedakah, which is a life of justice, of giving to others, right? And the fourth one is called tikkun olam, which is repairing yourself and others in a broken world to be more godlike. Bubby Bertha hit the nail on the head. If we implement that today, you're already on the plus side of things. So there's chapters on mentorship. There's a chapter on cancers, of course. There's a chapter on Babson College for entrepreneurship, the #1 school for entrepreneurship in the world, and the lessons that we learn there. And that's how the book title became Shining Brightly. The Shining Brightly is actually my energy into a light bulb with a dove, not a phoenix, that shares love, peace, and hope. And that's what I want to do each day. And so the lessons from the book are to lift yourself up, okay, by self-care, which we've already talked about, self-love. And once you're actually on solid footing, you now have the ability to lift up others. Okay. And when you lift up others, okay, you actually receive so much in return. Plus, it makes things really interesting. And then we all join hands and we actually become for positive change and for goodness for ourselves, for others, and in our communities. And that's the sum of the book. And I left out one last thing. The last chapter has got the best 4-letter word you've ever heard. And people ask me how I made it. And the word is hope. Okay. Without hope, life is boring, dull, dark. I had the hope. And I used that as the fuel for me to take one step further each day. And all the dog had to go to the bathroom, so I had to take 5 steps further some days to move things forward, even in the darkest of times. So the book is doing great, and it has launched my paid speaking career, and has launched my podcast. And I've got great content from it, great B-roll. And my big, hairy goal, I want this made into a movie. It could be a Hallmark movie, a Netflix movie, I don't care. But I'm working towards that. I'd love for it to be made into a movie. Yeah.
And so everybody listening, when that movie comes out, will say, I remember listening to him on that podcast, and he said he was gonna do it, and there it is. And we'll get to enjoy all of those good vibes.
You think George Clooney will play me, or Keanu?
I don't know. It'll be a surprise for all of us.
Exactly. So may I actually just, I wanted to piece the story together just a little further, because I went from living in Los Angeles and getting my life back. Okay. I went 26 years and I got to live again. And before I did any chemotherapy, this Dr. Eric Ruman at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute talked to me about fertility and sent me to the cryogenic center. And I left a sperm sample and I forgot about it for 11 years, except for the bill that came once a year. And my wife and I called for that. And we went through in vitro fertilization in 2001. 11 years later, miracle number 2, I got my daughter, Emily, my frozen kidsicle. And it's just incredible. What a blessing that after all I'd been through, that modern medical technology gave us a daughter. Roll the clock forward. That daughter is now 21 years old and is a reporter for a television station in Montana. And it's just an incredible thing that I thought was especially impossible when I first got diagnosed. But it became a reality because a smart doctor had me before I started treatment to do that. So doctors need to be able to do that. And if they don't, this is where you bring it to them if you get young onset diagnosis. So in San Francisco, I had a whirlwind career with tech startups, taking them public. This is the late 90s. Google hadn't even started really yet. And Salesforce.com hadn't started. And I was right in the thick of it. And it was amazing. And I got to take 2 companies public and take part of some of the riches and be able to push that back into philanthropy and to giving. But we ended up moving our family here to Michigan and growing up my family because my twin sister moved here. So miracle number 1, twin sister, bone marrow transplant. Miracle number 2, daughter, Emily. Unfortunately, lightning struck twice for me. And at age 50, I went in to get my annual physical. Time for your colonoscopy was 50. Time is now 45, unless you have symptoms or family history. I woke up and I said, Doc, everything's great. And my wife, Lisa, had my hand and he said, no, I found something. They found an 8.5 centimeter tumor in my cecum, which connects the large and small intestine. It pathologied out at stage 3 colon cancer. I immediately had surgery to remove 13 inches of my colon. I immediately installed a chemotherapy port and I started chemotherapy about 6 weeks later and it didn't work. I did another surgery. It didn't work. I did a clinical trial. It didn't work. I metastasized, meaning that the cancer spread to my liver, my stomach lining, and my bowel, and things got really dark again. Except I'm 50 years old, I'm a dad, I'm married, and I'm a war veteran of cancer. So I became a Marine, and we're living in the digital world. So the resources, the cancer advocacy resources like Colon Town and Colon Cancer Alliance were there for me so I could talk to people and get the information I needed. So miracle number 3 is in March of 2018, I had a massive surgery called cytoreduction hyperintraperitoneal chemotherapy, where they cut me open, took out all the chemo they could see with microscopic glasses, and poured hot chemotherapy in me, sealed me back up, and rotated me around like a rotisserie chicken. Well, except for a few bumps in the road after that, that has kept me alive, and that is keeping me with no evidence of disease at this time. And so from those experiences, those 3 miracles, and cancer leading almost directly into COVID, I've come out the other side and rebranded myself as an author, speaker, podcaster, and survivorship coach. Am I still a Silicon Valley technology guy, entrepreneur? Absolutely. But I'm in a different phase of my life where I just want to help people. I want to inspire people. I want to motivate people. I want to educate people. And that's what I do every single day. And so people can pivot, can change. You can rebirth yourself. You can put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Is it easy? I didn't say that. Okay. Does it take time? Yes. Does it take work? Does it take discipline? Does it take, the ability to do that? Sure. I'm living proof that it can be done.
We are resilient.
Absolutely.
The one theme with all of these types of challenges that we as human beings experience is that we're given a choice to use our challenge as leverage to be a better human being, to help other people with greater passion from a more selfless place. And I'm careful to use that word because we use the word selfish, and it actually was a very empowering way that we referred to selfishness. And when I say selfless, nothing is entirely selfless. But you mentioned it before, that when we are giving to others, when we're being the light, it is filling us up. And I think that's a divine thing. I think that we all manifest our own unique challenges that are the opportunity for us to really see how resilient, how powerful, how much potential is in us. And it also ignites within us sort of this fire, this desire to go out there and to be of service, to be a gift, to be the light. And for some people, it manifests through disease, and for other people, through other types of challenges. I think every one of us sort of has our own thing that is the catalyst for us to transform ourselves.
I agree 100%. I am still an entrepreneur. I am a book salesman. I am selling my own time as a speaker, and I'm selling, my time as a coach. And I'm an entrepreneur. It's in my DNA. I was trained at the best university for this, and so. But I am a business owner. I make a living. This is how I do it now, and I've chosen to do it. But I've been on startup teams. I've had to raise money. I've known of the chaos and the doubt and the loneliness of being an entrepreneur, having that twinkle of an idea and being able to actually look someone in the eye and say, listen, support me in this idea. I want to go to market. It's an unmet need in this world. And whether it's a nonprofit idea that betters humanity or it's an idea that actually makes money, you can still actually be a good person and you can still treat people respectfully. And we find out when that happens if you don't. Okay, you get a bad reputation. No one wants to do business with you, and you can live a lonely life. So I've learned lessons. I still make mistakes, but I have to tell you, I am now not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. I scheduled a walk today from 2 to 2:30 without my phone, just to capture. It's a beautiful spring day, so I did that. So I schedule it in, and I'm intentional about that. And so I'm great. Now I'm an empty nester and all that, but I've been very, very blessed and lucky. But I'm still using all the lessons learned, trying not to reduplicate the mistakes. But we're human. We actually have to give ourselves a break. We're just a ball of clay that's molding and shaping and all that. So it's the game of life. And as I said before, and I'll say it again, life, business, health, cancer, they're all team sports. Okay. Very few things in this world. Okay. Even if you play tennis or golf where you're hitting the ball yourself, usually there's whole coaching and teams and marketing and finance people behind you. I really think that the best teams and team chemistry wins.
I love that. This has been a very impactful and inspiring interview. Howard, how can our listeners connect with you?
Well, if you'll allow me, I'm going to put on my shining brightly gold white glasses because I want to shine the light back to you, Alicia, for having me on today. It's real easy. Howard Brown, shiningbrightly.com. There's tons of information about the book, about speaking, about podcasting, very interactive. I want to offer a gift because we talked about this. For those that have fears, I have a survivorship download. And it really just takes you through as to how to survive business, life, health. There's a mentorship download. There's an interfaith download to why you should actually interact with people that are not like me and others. And those are gifts that you can get off the website as well. And if you order the book through me instead of on Amazon, which you can certainly do, I will send everybody what's called a signed book plate because we don't do book signings anymore. These are little stickers that I will mail to you. And because you talk to me directly, I will mail you your own Shining Brightly glasses if you want to do it that way. So just really a pleasure. And my final comments would be that it's the last line in the book. If we choose to shine brightly just a little bit each day, we do make the world a better place for ourselves, for others, and our communities.
Love it. Thank you so much, Howard, for being with us today.
Loved it.
And thank you to all of our listeners. You know we're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.